The cafe seemed suspended outside of time, its warm glow casting soft halos on the walls. Yet for June and Soo-yeon, the room was no longer filled with strangers or the hum of quiet conversations. It was filled only with the weight of everything they had once shared and everything they had lost. June's eyes traced every detail of her face, as if trying to memorize her anew. The curve of her cheek, the shimmer of her eyes, the tremble of her lips that seemed on the verge of breaking into laughter or tears. And in that gaze, he felt the years between them collapse like fragile glass. Soo-yeon's heart pounded as she drew closer, her hands clenched tightly at her sides, as if letting go of them might reveal the storm raging inside her. Yet despite her practiced composure, she felt herself unravel under the intensity of his silence. She remembered nights when they had walked through these same streets, his camera always hanging at his side, and how he would lift it to capture fleeting lights, never realizing she was always the real subject of his art, the one reflected in every frame he loved. Now, standing before him again, she felt as though every step that had carried her away had been a betrayal to her heart, and yet every moment since had only led her back here. June, too, struggled with the enormity of it, his fingers tightening around the edge of his untouched coffee cup before he finally pushed it aside. The clink against the saucer, loud enough to make her flinch, and then, with a quiet steadiness, he whispered, "I never stopped seeing you." His words trembled like petals caught in the wind, yet they settled deep into her, stirring emotions she had kept buried beneath layers of duty and expectation. Her breath hitched, and though she tried to answer, her voice broke, forcing her to swallow before she finally managed, "And I never stopped waiting for you." The silence that followed was not the empty silence of their years apart, but a silence so full it threatened to spill over. And in that silence their pain and longing seemed to find a fragile reconciliation. Outside, the city moved on. Cars passed, lights flickered, laughter drifted from passing strangers. But inside, time bent to their reunion, every second expanding with the weight of what had been lost and what might yet be regained. Soo-yeon's hand lifted, hesitant, hovering in the space between them before June finally reached out, their fingers brushing in a touch so delicate it might have vanished in an instant, yet it ignited a spark that neither could deny. Tears welled in her eyes as she remembered the photograph he had once given her, now worn at the edges from the countless nights she had held it close, and she whispered, "I thought, if I kept it near, I could keep you too." June's chest tightened as he leaned closer, the rawness of his voice betraying the strength of his longing. "Every picture I took was for you, Soo-yeon. Every frame was empty without you in it." She closed her eyes at his words, the ache in her chest unraveling into something softer, something fragile, yet alive. And when she opened them again, the tears that slipped down her cheeks were no longer only of sorrow, but of release. The cafe door opened behind her, letting in a rush of cool evening air, but she did not turn. Instead, she stepped into the space between them, closing the distance, and as his arms finally encircled her, she felt the world outside blur and fade, leaving only the heartbeat she had searched for in every echo of the past. Years of silence, longing, and unspoken words melted in that embrace, and though the road ahead would not erase the scars of their separation, in that moment, beneath the dim glow of forgotten streetlights, they discovered that love, once planted deep within the soul, could never truly die. It only waited, patient and unwavering, for the day it would be called back into bloom.